Sometimes, life leads us down paths we simply do not understand. We lose something precious, we face the sudden crisis, or we feel like the very ground beneath our feet is falling apart. But what if every challenge, every single loss, had a hidden, sacred purpose? For over 2.500 years, Buddhist teachings have offered a radical perspective that nothing in our lives is truly random. Every experience, especially the difficult ones, is designed to shape us, to teach us, and to bring us closer to a deeper truth about ourselves and the universe. If you have ever looked up at the sky and asked, "Why is this happening to me?" then stay with us until the very end. In this video, we will explore how to trust the process of your life, how to accept what happens with grace, and how to turn every obstacle into a profound opportunity for growth. The answer might just change the way you see your life forever. 1. The hidden purpose of suffering. Pain is one of the most universal of all human experiences. No one, no matter how fortunate, escapes loss, failure, or disappointment. But what sets us apart is not what we go through, it is how we choose to interpret it. In the profound view of Buddhism, suffering is not seen as a punishment or some cruel, random twist of fate. Instead, it is viewed as a disguised teacher, even if we cannot understand it in the moment. Every single hardship holds a hidden, sacred purpose. When we experience pain, our first, primal instinct is to resist it. We want the problem to vanish, for things to go back to the way they were, for the deep discomfort to disappear. We fight, we bargain, we numb ourselves. But what if suffering is not here to punish you? What if it is here to transform you? Many of life's greatest and most essential lessons only arrive through the gateway of pain. Just as a blacksmith's fire purifies gold by burning away its impurities, life's difficulties are designed to strip away what is unnecessary in us, our ego, our pride, our attachments, and reveal our true, resilient, and beautiful essence. The Buddha taught that while pain in life is inevitable, the suffering we create around that pain is a choice. The difference lies in how we face it. If we cling to our pain, we prolong it. If we fight it, we make it stronger. But if we can learn to observe it with a sense of courageous curiosity, without fear, we discover that within every painful experience, there is a seed of profound wisdom waiting to be understood. There is a classic Buddhist story that illustrates this perfectly. A young disciple complained to his master about how unfair and difficult his life was. He felt that everything was constantly against him and that nothing ever went his way. The master listened with patient silence and then asked the disciple to bring him a handful of salt. He told the disciple to put the salt into a small glass of water and then to drink it. The disciple took a sip and immediately grimaced, saying it was far too bitter to drink. The master then led him to a large, clear lake nearby and told him to throw the same handful of salt into its waters. Afterward, he asked him to drink from the lake. This time, the disciple smiled and said the water tasted fresh and pure. The master then said, "The pain of life is like the salt. Its bitterness does not change. What changes is the container you place it in. If you want your suffering to taste less bitter, you must expand your perspective. This story teaches us a powerful truth. When we focus solely on our pain, it fills every part of our being. But when we widen our view, when we begin to understand that each experience is just one small part of a much bigger, more intelligent picture, the pain stops consuming us. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we can begin to ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" 2. No chaos, no transformation. Comfort is a state we all naturally seek, but rarely do we stop to think about its subtle effect on our spirit. When life runs smoothly, when everything seems to be under our control, we tend to settle, we cling to what we know, we avoid risk, we choose the security of the familiar over the uncertainty of genuine growth. But in the school of life, there is a clear and unavoidable teaching: without chaos, there is no true transformation. It is often the very moments that shake us to our core that become the most powerful catalysts for real change. Crises, while deeply painful, force us to wake up. They pull us out of our comfortable routines, push us far beyond our perceived limits, and make us question everything we thought we knew. Without these profound disruptions, we might never develop new skills, challenge our old beliefs, or explore hidden paths we would have otherwise ignored. Life, in its infinite wisdom, often uses adversity as a sacred tool for our evolution. Picture a single seed. If it stays on the surface of the ground, exposed to the sunlight and the air but never buried in the earth, it will never grow into a tree. It needs to be pushed into the darkness of the soil. It needs to break apart from within. It needs to struggle upward toward the light. The process is difficult. It is a form of chaos, but it is the only way for its true potential to emerge. The same is true for us. Without these difficult moments, without these inner breaking points, we would not have the chance to reach our fullest potential. There's a story in Buddhism that illustrates this perfectly. A disciple once asked his master why life had to be so hard. The master took him to a forest and pointed to a butterfly struggling to free itself from its cocoon. The disciple, moved by compassion, wanted to help, so he carefully tore open the cocoon to release the butterfly. It emerged easily, but its wings were weak and undeveloped, and it could never fly. The master then explained, the effort to break free from the cocoon is what strengthens the butterfly's wings. Without that struggle, it cannot fly. Just like that butterfly, we need the resistance of life's challenges to build our inner strength. Every difficult situation forces us to adapt, to grow, and to find new ways to face what lies ahead. Accepting chaos does not mean we should enjoy suffering. It simply means we understand that it is a necessary part of the process. Free Dharma, the invisible order of life. There are moments when life feels completely out of control. We face obstacles we never expected. Things do not go according to our plans, and we start to wonder if we are on the wrong path entirely. But Buddhism teaches us something very different. Nothing in the universe happens by chance. There is a perfect, invisible order guiding everything, even if we cannot always see it. This divine order is known as the Dharma. The Dharma is the natural law. the universal intelligence that governs all of existence. It is the quiet, perfect flow behind all of life's events, where everything happens at exactly the right time and for a very specific reason. From this perspective, there are no mistakes, there are no accidents. Even the experiences we think of as deeply negative are part of a much larger, benevolent balance. Look at the natural world. The seasons change exactly when they need to. The rivers flow toward the sea without resistance. The trees grow toward the sun without rushing. Nothing in nature asks why things are the way they are. It simply follows its innate course. But as human beings, we struggle with this. We want life to fit into our small, rigid expectations, and when it doesn't, we suffer. Many times, our suffering arises when we drift away from our own personal dharma, our true purpose. Life then sends us gentle signals, a feeling of unease, a lack of fulfillment, and if we ignore those signals, it sends louder ones, the obstacles that force us to realign with who we are truly meant to be. Buddhism teaches that when something leaves our life, it is because it no longer serves our growth. When we are challenged, it is because we are being prepared for what is next. And when something we desire is delayed, it is because the time is not yet right. Dharma reminds us that everything happens in its own perfect time. 4. The illusion of control. From the moment we are young, we are taught that the key to a good life is to take control. We are told that if we work hard enough, make the right plans, and make all the right decisions, things will go the way we want them to. But sooner or later, life, in its infinite wisdom, proves this idea wrong. No matter how carefully we plan, there are always things that slip through our fingers. A relationship that seems stable suddenly falls apart. A job we thought was secure unexpectedly disappears. Plans that look perfect on paper suddenly fail for reasons we cannot explain. When things do not go our way, we feel frustrated, anxious, and afraid. We ask ourselves what we did wrong, why everything fell apart when we tried so hard to do everything right. This is where Buddhism offers its most liberating insight. The belief that we have ultimate control is an illusion, and it is our attachment to this illusion that is the source of so much of our anxiety. The problem is that our mind craves certainty. It wants guarantees, and when life doesn't deliver those guarantees, we panic. There is an old Buddhist story that explains this beautifully. A powerful king once asked his 3 wisest advisors why life was so unpredictable. The first advisor said it was all a matter of luck. The second said it was the result of our past decisions. But the third advisor said nothing. Instead, he led the king to a great river and asked him to try to stop the water with his hands. The king tried, but no matter what he did, the water kept flowing around his hands. The wise advisor then said, "Your Majesty, life is like this river. You can try to control it with all your might, but in the end, it will flow exactly the way it needs to. Your only choice is not to stop the river, but to learn how to move with it." Suffering so often comes from our rigid clinging to how we think things should be. We build elaborate blueprints in our minds and then become frustrated and heartbroken when the universe, with its infinitely greater wisdom, presents us with a different, more beautiful design. But how do we make this profound shift? How do we learn to let go of our own small plans and begin to trust the grand, unfolding mystery of life? How do we learn to float with the current instead of constantly fighting against it? That is the sacred art of surrender, and it is precisely where our journey will continue. The tighter we hold on to our desperate need for control, the harder it becomes to flow with what is actually happening. This leads us to a profound and liberating shift in perspective. Letting go of control does not mean giving up or becoming passive. It means understanding that while we can take action and make conscious choices, we cannot force life to follow our limited script. It is the sacred art of learning to move with the river, not against it. 5. The art of surrender, effortless action. There is a beautiful practice in Taoist philosophy which integrates perfectly with Buddhist thought, known as Wu Wei. It is often translated as effortless action or non-doing. This does not mean sitting back and doing nothing, waiting for life to happen to you. It means learning to act in perfect harmony with the natural flow of life. Rather than trying to push against the powerful current of reality, we learn to skillfully navigate with it. Rather than resisting the inevitable changes that life brings, we learn to adapt and move gracefully with what is. When we can truly trust that the great current of life is ultimately taking us where we need to go, the anxious grip of fear begins to fade. We stop obsessing over what might happen tomorrow and we start living more fully and richly in the present. We come to accept that there will always be times of uncertainty, but we no longer see them as threats to our well-being. Instead, we see them as natural and necessary parts of our journey. One of the most helpful practices to cultivate this trust is to reflect on past moments in your own life. Think of a time when things did not go as you had meticulously planned. Yet something better, something you could not have imagined, ultimately emerged. Perhaps the relationship ended, breaking your heart, but in the space that followed, you discovered a deeper sense of self-love and independence. Maybe a lost job closed one door, only to open another to a more meaningful and fulfilling career. Perhaps a perceived failure revealed hidden strengths and a resilience you did not know you possessed. When we let go of the exhausting illusion of control, we stop living in a state of constant, low-grade fear. We stop trying to manipulate every single detail of our lives, and instead, we begin to trust in our own innate ability to face whatever comes. This does not mean life will suddenly become easy, but it does mean we can find a profound and unshakable peace. Even in the very middle of uncertainty, life is not something we are meant to control. It is something we are meant to live. 6. Finding serenity in the unexpected. Life is, by its very nature, full of surprises. One moment, everything feels steady and predictable, and the next, it all changes. We lose a job, a relationship ends, or a challenge shows up that we never, ever expected. Uncertainty is a fundamental part of the human experience, but instead of accepting it, most of us spend our lives resisting it. We desperately look for safety, for guarantees, for certainty, yet change is the only constant we truly have. Buddhism teaches that peace does not come from removing uncertainty from our lives. which is an impossible task. It comes from learning to live gracefully with it. We cannot stop the ocean of life from changing, but we can choose how we react to its movement. We can find a deep sense of calm even when nothing on the surface feels sure. Imagine you are in a small, sturdy boat, drifting in the middle of a vast and beautiful ocean. If you spend all your energy trying to control the waves, to flatten the swells, you will quickly become exhausted and terrified. But if you learn to move with them, to skillfully navigate the currents and ride the waves instead of resisting them, you will find that you can make it through even the roughest of waters. Uncertainty is like that ocean. We cannot stop its movement, but we can learn how to sail. There is a story in the Buddhist tradition about a monk who lived high on a mountain. One day, a frantic villager came running up the path to warn him, "A huge storm is coming." He said, "The winds will be powerful. You need to leave before it is too late." The monk calmly replied, "If the storm comes, I will welcome it." The villager, confused, insisted, "But you could die." The monk smiled and said, "If I die, I will accept death. If I live, I will accept life. Whatever happens, I will accept it." This story does not mean we should be careless or ignore practical ways to protect ourselves. It means we must release the deep, paralyzing fear of what we ultimately cannot control. The fear of uncertainty comes from a fundamental doubt in our own ability to face the unknown. But the simple truth is, you have already made it through 100% of the challenges your life has given you so far. And that is the proof that you can face whatever comes next. When life changes our plans, it might just be preparing us for something far better than we could have imagined for ourselves. A powerful way to find peace in uncertainty is to ask yourself these questions. How many times has something that seemed terrible at first turned out to be a hidden blessing in my life? Do I really need to have all the answers right now? Am I missing the beauty of the present moment because I am so focused on a future that does not even exist yet? Accepting uncertainty does not mean letting go of your goals or your dreams. It means trusting that no matter what happens, you will find your way through. Peace does not come from having every answer. It comes from learning how to live beautifully with the questions. The path to awakening. Every event is a teacher. This brings us to the final, culminating insight. Life can often feel random and unpredictable. We go through challenges, losses, and changes we never asked for, and we can feel like victims of circumstance. Yet, Buddhism teaches that every single event, no matter how painful or confusing it may seem, is a perfectly placed stepping stone on our journey toward awakening. Enlightenment is not a faraway, mystical goal. It is not something we need to search for outside of ourselves. It is already within us, like a dormant seed, waiting to be seen, and every single moment in life, especially the hard ones, is a sacred call for us to wake up, to see things as they truly are, without fear and without resistance. Think about the times in your life when you have grown the most. They probably were not the easiest or most comfortable moments. They were the times when life pushed you, when it tested you, and when it made you look deeper within yourself. That is the path to awakening. It is not a sudden, dramatic revelation, but the slow, steady, and courageous process of understanding yourself and your place in the world. One experience at a time, when we can finally stop asking the victim's question, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking the student's question, "What can I learn from this?" Everything changes. We shift from feeling like powerless victims of life to becoming dedicated and curious students of life. Every obstacle transforms into a teacher. Every setback becomes a sacred invitation to grow deeper. So, if your life feels heavy right now, if you are facing something you do not understand, I invite you to trust that it is part of your unique and perfect journey. Nothing is ever wasted. Nothing happens by accident. Everything that takes place is shaping you, carving you, and polishing you into the magnificent being you were always meant to become. So let us bring our journey to a close. We have seen that suffering can be a disguised teacher, that chaos is often a necessary catalyst for transformation, and that beneath it all, there is the perfect, invisible order, a Dharma, that is lovingly guiding our lives. We have learned that our greatest struggle comes from clinging to the illusion of control, and our greatest peace comes from learning to surrender to the beautiful, unpredictable flow of life. The path to awakening is not a sudden, dramatic revelation, but the slow, steady, and courageous process of understanding yourself and your place in the world. One experience at a time. If these teachings have spoken to you, if they have offered you a sense of peace or a new perspective on your own journey, I warmly invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel to continue exploring this path together. And I would love to know what lesson from our journey today stayed with you the most. Please share it in the comments below. Your personal experience and your own piece of wisdom might be exactly what someone else in our community needs to read to find hope on their own path today. Thank you for watching and for your open heart. May you learn to trust the river of your life, knowing it is always carrying you home. Until the next video.